Hey, what's up everyone? Sean here at ORO Racks. We're going to do a quick install and run through of our new soft top bracket kits for our Elite Series ORO bed rack. So we are adapting the rack that we already had on our truck here. So we have our uprights and side panels already put together. If you haven't done this already, which you probably haven't, basically you're just going to attach the upright to the side panel ×2 and the base bracket onto the upright. Once you're there, we're ready to get into the soft top specific parts. All right, so we're going to focus on one side at a time here. We're looking at the passenger side of the truck right now, and that's where we'll focus here. The driver side, passenger side, it's the same overall, so no big deal there. We have a little bit of an advantage here. We've been testing these brackets for a while on this truck, so we actually just removed some uncoated aluminum brackets that we had there. We made some adjustments to those before we finalized our design with these, but because we had those on here, we do have very clear spots. We know where they need to install on this truck in order to line up with our uprights on the outside. If you didn't, it's very simple. You're just going to measure the spacing between the uprights where the bolt hole goes, and you're going to match that to where you position these depending on what hole you're going to use. We've put a bunch of different holes in this bracket so that it'll fit different widths of trucks, different covers. The Bestop takes up more room on the bed rail than the Softopper does, things like that. So you just have to determine what you want that to look like and then measure accordingly to determine the spacing on these. We know our spacing, so we're just going to go ahead and install them. The Bestop or Softopper, if you've already had it installed on your truck already like we do here, you don't need to remove it. You're just going to loosen off all your clamp brackets and get enough space to slide these brackets between the Bestop rail and the bed rail of the truck. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to probably have to lift up on the rail a little bit here. It might be a little tight still, but you can fit it through if need be. If need be, remove one of the brackets completely if it's still got a bit of tension on it. Give yourself a little bit of room to play with, but that's it. So that's there. It's good to go. We will line everything up before we bolt these down. We're going to be using our no drill clips to clamp these to the bed rail. But we will get everything in position before we tackle that. All right, so at the front of the bed here, we're just repeating the process. You can see a bit of light coming through there. That's where the previous bracket was. These seals are pretty good in the sense that they do seal up well around the bracket still. If you want, you can add a bit of weather stripping between the bed rail and the brackets before you install this. But truthfully, after having this on here for so long, we haven't really had much water at all with water dripping in. No more than any tonneau cover really. All right, so now we're just going to take our side panel that we have assembled here, and we're going to quickly make sure it lines up with the bolt holes on these brackets. We have decided to offset our bracket instead of having them both centered. The front one's going to be centered here, and the back one is offset towards the back. It lets us put this rack a little more towards the back of the truck to kind of give us the look we're looking for. It's also a little bit of an underrated benefit here. It gives us a step plate here. So when we're climbing up on our tire, we can actually step a foot up here once everything's secured to help set up our tent, pack up our tent, things like that. We could do the same at the front, but we're going to leave that one centered for now. Everything looks well aligned here, which is really what we expected. So we'll pull this down just because we don't have those brackets secured in the bed yet, and we'll go and bolt those in place. All right, so now that that's all figured out and these are aligned where we want them to be, we're going to go ahead and clamp these down in place here. We are going to be using our no drill clips on these. It's a very simple clamp bracket. It has 2 tabs that are going to line up in these rectangular holes here to hold it from spinning, stop it from sliding down. That's a big one that other brands don't necessarily have incorporated, is over time with the vibration, their clamp plate can slowly slide down. Ours is going to be held in place because of those slots there. Easiest way to get these in, put your carriage bolt in. That'll be held in place for you so it won't rotate. Keep your finger on the back of that carriage bolt and just slide it into place at the back. The bolt will align in the slot, get the tabs in place there, and you are good to go. Throw a washer and the lock nut on. And you don't want to clamp these down like crazy. You just want it tight enough that that it's holding everything in place. We're going to use an impact. If you are the type of person who uses an impact and just goes crazy, I would recommend a wrench or a ratchet. That's not going anywhere, and they get even more secure once you clamp down the brackets for the Bestop, because they help sandwich everything together as well. Once you loosen up the brackets of your Softop, the rails are going to expand outward. You can see here a very clear dust line versus a clean spot. So that clean spot is where the seal used to be. So you want to make sure when you clamp everything back down, you're pulling things in to align where they were. All right, so we're going to clamp this down real quick. Like I said, you got to make sure that you pull it into where it was and everything's aligned. So that looks good there. We're going to start with this bracket, knowing that we might have to make some adjustments potentially. We're not going to go crazy on this clamp, but we're going to get it tightened down to hold things together for us. So that still looks nice and aligned. Yeah, so this needed to push out now. When we pulled in the back, the front came over too far. This looks pretty good, and we did just check the driver's side, and it was pushed out a lot. So that'll even up. So we're gonna clamp this one where it looks right, based on where it was before. All right, so from here, it gets pretty quick and easy. We've already got these brackets are clamped down. We've got our side panels together. So all we're gonna do now, we're grabbing 2 carriage bolts, 2 lock nuts and 2 washers, and that's what's gonna make this connection here. So it's set up, all the holes here in play are square, so you can put the carriage bolt either down or up. It's going to look a little cleaner if you go up, because then underneath this bracket, which is exposed, isn't going to have the nut showing. However, it is a little easier to install if you drop it in from the top. So you can kind of pick your poison there. We're going to go from the bottom to keep things looking clean for us, and really just going to get the side panel up there. Again, a second set of hands would be nice here, but really not necessary. So get that carriage bolt in the bottom and then align the upright bracket with that. So that's lined up there. The front's just balancing up there on its own. Not really an issue. And we're going to drop a washer on that. And then we're going to get our nut started just by hand here. And that started there. So that's going to kind of hold itself. We'll do the same up at the front, and then we'll get everything tightened down. All right, so hopefully you can get a better view of what we're doing here. We're taking the carriage bolt right up in the bottom there, bring it through. That's good, and then drop the rack bracket onto that, and we're good to go. I'm going to slide a washer in there. Same with the nut. Kind of reach behind, and you can hand thread that nut on. There we go. And that's good. So we can let this hang. Obviously it's going to rock. We haven't bolted, we haven't secured it down and tightened things up yet. But we'll do that now. So the easiest way to get to this, to tighten up this nut in here, again, this is assuming you went up with the bolt, not down. Down would be a lot easier, but easiest way here is a ratcheting wrench. So that's what we're going to use. The correct size is a 9/16. We pulled out a 14 mil. It fits. We're going to do it. We're going to use it, but 9/16 is the right number here. it can squeeze in there and tighten this down. And there we go. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the back bracket. Just holding the carriage bolt up in place so that the square shoulder of the carriage bolt doesn't slip out of the cut in the bracket. To do that, you could end up stripping material in the aluminum cutout, and then that carriage bolt wouldn't grip. So that's that. So jumping around to the driver's side, we're going to do the exact same thing over here. Get the side panel up. Get the first bolt set, dropped on a washer, and hand thread the nut on top there. That's started. Same thing up front. You can see this really isn't a time-consuming process here. Until you find out our brackets aren't perfectly aligned on this side. So we're going to loosen our no drill clip here. So that we can get a little bit of movement in the one bracket. And this is where it's beneficial that we didn't clamp down the rear clamps on the Bestop cover yet, just because our measurement here wasn't perfect, and having that loose allowed us to make a quick adjustment here. But quick and easy, no big deal. That's on. That's on. We're gonna get the no drill clip secured again before we do anything else, because otherwise our bracket won't be in perfect position when we secure everything. So that's that. Like I said, super easy fix, no big deal. We're gonna quickly tighten these down. That's secure. That's secure. And that's that. Both our sides are done. All we have left to do here is add the load bars to the top, and we're good to go. All right, so as you can see, we've got two types of load bars here. This is our standard load bar on every rack we've shipped so far, and what we're continuing to ship right now. It is extruded aluminum with T-slots in all four sides. That's what we ship with most of our racks. We've been testing a adjustable width load bar that we're going to install in this, because we're not done testing it. We're going to load it up with a little more weight, test the limits of this, and mess with that a little more. So your install will look like this. We're going to go with these, very similar, just a little different hardware we're going to be using. So we're going to go ahead and throw our load bars up onto the truck, and we'll get them secured. So we're not going to take too much of your time here with the load bar installation. We'll quickly install these and then cut to the finished product, but it is just 3 bolts on each side of each upright, washers and lock nuts in behind, and that's it. The width of these load bars is already set the way we wanted it, so those will be good to go. Well, we got a little bit delayed because we got rained poured on while we were installing the load bars. So we took a quick break, but came back out, finished up real quick, and that's that. So that's our Elite Series bed rack installed with our Softopper adapter brackets. So now if you've got a Softopper, a Bestop, or a couple of the other brands out there now, a soft bed cover, these brackets will allow you to mount one of our racks over top of it. People have been asking for these for a long time, so it's about time that we've kind of settled on how we want to do them. And that's that. Obviously, our regular Elite Series bed rack includes front to back tie bars, so you don't see that here just because we're testing a new setup on this truck. But those come with every Elite Series bed rack purchase, and the soft top brackets are available as a separate part. So you can add them to an existing ORO bed rack that you have, or you can add them to a new bed rack order. Both available on ororacks.ca.